I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing frogs.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go along that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got nothing.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
the
an
Guyanese critic.
erratic
Mikhail
detective,
Rodriguez.
is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? No, Gildarie, you deal with that. You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Gildarie, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Welcome to the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon show. Wherever you are, based in different time zones, is good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon. This is a live interview program, talk show program that comes to you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We come to you live from the TBN studios in the Looney Street. So you can get us live by going on your smartphone or your smart TV, and you will see us right now. Go to Guyanese Critic Facebook page or TBN News Guyana, TBN Guyana. My co-host is Leonard Gildarie, as usual. We have as our guest this evening a person that in American style these days, you don't say to a woman she's a pretty woman or beautiful woman. I don't know where the Americans get that vibe from, but the recent trend in American sociology is that a man cannot refer to a woman as pretty or good looking. But you will see for yourself, our guest this evening is indeed a pretty woman. She straddles two spheres of importance in Guyana, trade unionism and opposition politics. And I think anyone would admit you don't have to go to university. If you don't have those two things, your democracy will be in jeopardy. So our guest this evening is General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union and PNC Member of Parliament and also Central Committee Member of the PNC, Coretta McDonald. Now, for the past year, the rumor mill has been out of control that the people throwing their hats in the ring to be the PNC leader. One of the names I've not heard is Coretta, but if she does throw her hat in the ring, she has an instant invitation on the show. Now, when we were talking about coming on the show, she said to me, why don't you invite Lincoln Lewis? All politicians, all trade unionists, opposition party, ruling party, and major players in this society are welcome to this program, including Mr. Lincoln Lewis. So if he's listening, he has an invitation. And I hope Coretta will be able to persuade him and her colleagues in the leadership of the PNC. We have had some high-level leaders in the PNC, including numero uno, the leader himself of Norton. I'll hand over to Leonard Gildarie, because for the past 14 months, he's been moping and groaning about opposition politicians that are not performing. In fact, in one stage, he say, but do they have to work for their money? So we have an opposition parliamentarian and an opposition leader in the House this evening. So over to Leonard Gildarie.
Thank you very much, dear Freddie. Good night, folks, wherever you are. And I must say that I'm extremely happy that we have a lady in our midst tonight. In any country, we have women leaders all across this world, and many of them have performed well. And so when we have our women leaders in Guyana are willing to take the bull by the horns and discuss matters of importance for people of this country, I like that. I like that as a citizen, and I like that from where I'm sitting here also. So Freddie, I must say that I agree with you. She looked very pretty tonight, but we're here to also talk to her.
What do you mean the lady looks pretty tonight?
You want me to tell you look pretty too?
I've known her for years now, decades. And Coretta McDonald has always been a good-looking woman. So you better.
All right, she's classy.
I know you didn't mean that. That happens in journalism, where the journalists sometimes go. I know you didn't mean that.
But she looks
so
pretty
you
tonight.
still have time to correct yourself.
Yeah. All right. She looks very classy tonight, Freddie Kissoon, and you look classy too, sir.
The lady has always been a classy woman. I sat with her in the council of the University in Guyana decades ago. I've known her decades ago. The woman is a very good-looking woman, as any guest looking at the screen will know tonight.
Aside from Freddie being good-looking, there's a couple of things that I am not too happy about. I was just having a glance at one in the newspaper. Let me just read the headlines to you. I'm not going to say which newspaper it is. Police probing suspected murder suicide at Long Creek. Man charged with Alata Sam's murder. 2 teens die in Montrose accident. 3 children die after boat capsizes in Rupununi. And I think a couple of days back, 2 more children got burned up in a house. I can't remember where that is. I'm becoming very how you say it? You know, I go through this auto kind of mode every day. What's next? What are we doing to ourselves within this country? Have we no sense of responsibility? Many of these instances, yes, some people are going to blame it on poverty and so on, but a lot of these things that happen because of recklessness, because of stupidity, and we keep doing that. Every time something like this happens, I keep thinking, what happened to the little kids? What happened to the children? What happened to the loved ones, but especially those children? Okay. We're thinking, we're doing a lot of stuff. This afternoon on the roadway there, the chief security of BK, Mr. Bascom, was killed in an accident on the East Coast there, on that highway there. This is so very tragic for our country. Every time we lose one, and already we're short of people in this country for the workforce, we're heading down, and I'm not hearing the kind of political rhetoric that I would like, or the political kind of encouragement. This is nonsense, a situation out of hand. We need to do it. I think you guys would have been hearing us, Freddie and myself, more so myself, talking about it. It's something that really gets at me, that a life is lost needlessly in this country. Okay. Accidents happen. I repaired my vehicle today because of one part, and it came up just under $100,000. Imagine you crashing up your car that you bought for $3-4 million. Where you getting the money when you got to be paying these big loans to the bank and so on? Well, are we not thinking? All because of recklessness. Tonight I want to hand over back to Freddie, because we do happen to have somebody who's one of our women leaders in this country, and we need to ask her the state of this country and where we headed. Freddie?
Thanks, Leonard. I will come back to you shortly, because you've been carping all the time on these programs that you're disappointed in opposition not performing. So my first question to Coretta, and I don't think I did the necessary protocol arrangements. Coretta, thanks for being here, and nice to see you again.
Thank you for having
me.
You're
not somebody that I've known yesterday.
Thank you for having me.
You know Leonard Gildarie. If you don't, well, one of Guyana's famous journalists. Mm-hmm. Coretta, first question is, how do I put this? It's kind of embarrassing, but with your experience, I'm sure you can handle it. Would you accept leader position of the PNC if situation or circumstances arise in which you have to fulfill that role?
Well, first of all, Freddie and Leonard, let me say thank you for having me on your program, and good night to all of your viewers. You don't have to be a leader to lead. And to lead, there are certain qualities that you have. And more than that, you have to have that kind of love for people if you're going to lead. And for me, being leader of the party, I'm not ruling that out, but I'm not thinking along that line presently. But I don't have to be leader to lead. I've been a leader a long time. I have lots of children following me. I have lots of, and these are preteens. I have teenagers following me. I have so many young men and women and lots of adults following me. So I don't have to be in a leadership position to lead. I am humbled enough to lead wherever I am. But with regards to being leader of the People's National Congress or being leader of the opposition, it's all in our expectations wherever we are to move from one level to another level. And of course, my time for that will come. But at this time, I am not pushing to be leader, not because I'm not capable of being leader, but because I understand that there are lots and lots of work to be done, and all of us can't be leaders.
Thank you very much, Coretta. I want to bring you, because like I said, I'm really happy that we could be able to speak to somebody of your caliber here. You're a parliamentarian, you're a trade unionist. But I want to ask you, as a parliamentarian, a lawmaker, I raised this issue recently because when I look at other lands, let's say the United States, for instance, we see people, lawmakers are very happy to say that, look, something is attached to my name. This bill belongs to me. I'm championing this cause. Do you believe that our lawmakers in this country, parliamentarians, and I'm talking both sides of the divide, they're not aggressive enough in pushing for the changes that this country so very much deserves and is needed, are needed?
Oh, well, I can only, while I hear you, I can only speak for my side of the house. And yes, we do need to have many more changes in what is happening in our country at this time, because there are so many things happening. And you and I know that our laws, many of the laws that we have here, they're outdated and they need to be revised. As a matter of fact, when we look at, let me speak on education. When we look at what is there in the law with regards to education, a teacher, way back then when the law was written, if you are present at school and you don't have your notes of lessons there's a fine attached to it. But if you were to weigh that fine with what is happening now, it's like, which doesn't make sense. So we need to change it. But I'm not saying that so that the lawmakers can decide to change it, right? But the thing is, we need to be very, very concerned about what is happening. Another example, let's look at the fine for assault. You've recognized that over the years, over the last couple of months, parents have been going into schools assaulting teachers. Students have been assaulting teachers. Relatives have been assaulting teachers. And the fine there is $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. And teachers get beat up, let me say that, real bad. And a teacher's face, a teacher's having a scar on his or her face, and they have to live with that for the rest of their life. But the perpetrator just pays what, $8,000 or $10,000, and they go free. And so all of those need changing. And yes, we need to do more in terms of changing it. But let me talk to you about what is happening on the side of the opposition. Many, and I can tell you countless motions have been submitted by members of the opposition who are members of parliament. But you know what? They've been denied. We've been told on lots and lots of occasions that these are not urgent and they're not important at this time, and it can't be.
A motion is different from a bill, so I just want that I'm talking.
Yes, quite a lot of motions and quite a lot of bills, and let me put both of them in the same basket. They have been denied. Just recently, we had MP Ganesh Maipal putting out a motion there, and we had bills coming from MP Patterson and amendments to bills that were prepared, and they were all denied. So the thing is, as politicians, we have to understand that our people are important. So whether a motion is coming from the side of the opposition or it's coming from the side of the government, as long as it's going to benefit this country, then we should grab hands together and we should go forward. But what we found happening is that we use the numbers that are on our side to beat down the numbers that we don't have. So if a motion comes up there or a bill comes there and you feel that it's going to be threatening to you, then it's denied. And we've got to work to change that. But how do we change that? We can't change that alone in the National Assembly. We've got to go out there and meet our people everywhere and sensitize them and get them to understand that these changes that we want to see happen are changes that will benefit not only us, but our generations to come, so that they don't have to be saddled with a kind of burden. And when we do those kinds of sensitization, I think the pressure is going to be mounted so that our speaker in the National Assembly would understand that these are matters of importance and they must be allowed.
But hasn't that been the situation, Freddie? Just bear with me.
No, you go on.
Hasn't that been the situation whenever there's a majority in government that it's all time or most of the times? I can't remember of anything major in which the government, something that's life-changing for the people of Guyana, that says, let's hold hands on this particular thing for the betterment of this country. I can't remember. And which leads me to a follow-up question on Parliament. Do you believe that Parliament should be sitting a little more?
Well, you and I know that. As a matter of fact, if we were having many more or frequent sittings, then we would not have been in Parliament until 9 o'clock, 9:30 the other day, from 10 one day to 9:30 the next day. And this is saying to us that we need to have more frequent sittings of Parliament. But what we've recognized is that it's sad. But we've recognized that it's only when the government wants money, then they come to Parliament. And then they come to Parliament with a whole barrage of bills to be passed, which for me, the citizens out there, they're not interested, because who will sit from 10 o'clock in the morning to 9:30 the next morning to listen to all of what you're saying? And we know how our youths operate, or many people operate in this country because of their cell phones or technology. They don't have time to listen there. They will go and they would listen in their own time, or they would choose parts to listen to. And then the whole essence of the sitting of the National Assembly is lost because we spend too much time not doing what we're supposed to do.
Freddie, I'm going to come back with some.
No, you go ahead.
I wanted to know, this is top of your head, Freddie, and maybe Coretta too. If we know how many, this thing, it confuses the hell out of me. Why are we going to the polls, electing people to go to the polls? And what Coretta would have outlined here is an opposition that is basically, and this is not for one government consecutively, a system that is broken. It speaks to a system that is broken. It's not working, because you have people who represent, yes, you could say that the government represents all Guyana, but then you have opposition people to represent the constituency. You mean to tell me, and I raised this issue last week, you mean to tell me they got some national issues like the state of affairs at NIS and so on, the old people, the senior citizens that we have here, single parents, vulnerable, and you mean to tell me that nobody can pass a bill in that direction, or nobody can come out and say it? If the opposition goes, and this is what I'm saying, people got to understand the role, just like how at the NDC level, and I don't think the NDC are getting it, and at the local government side that they're getting it, what exactly their roles are as leaders within the communities. Because the only time, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you that within our community, if I know 5 of them, I know plenty of them. I don't know who they think. They've never come around. All you just know, there's an election, somebody posted themselves, and at the end of the day, when the election is finished, I never see them back. And you could say that in every community that they have in Guyana. 90% of the people.
Well, I wouldn't agree fully with you on that, because what I know, and again, I could only speak for the APNU, AFC, and particularly the PNC. Since under the leadership of David Granger, we would have had quite a lot of groups being formed in communities across this country. With this new leader that we have now, if you've been checking, you would see this present leader, he's always on the ground. He's here, he's there, he's almost everywhere, meeting persons not only in the constituencies of the PNC, but he's been meeting people in constituencies that are strongholds of the PPP. And so we're out there, not basically looking after our constituencies, the citizens who belong to the constituencies that we govern or that we've won, but we are there for the people of Guyana, because we've recognized that your constituency alone can't build Guyana. We have to include everyone, and that's what we're about. We are an inclusive group of people, and we plan to continue to engage persons all across this country. As a matter of fact, we have a whole schedule of activities which would spread across Region 6, Region 4, Region 3. We've been doing lots and lots of outreaches in Region 2, Region 9, Region 1. And so we will continue to do that to meet our people, because let me tell you what, the government, you have a group of persons there. But the majority of citizens or the masses out there, they don't enjoy the benefits that, let me say, parliamentarians enjoy. And so while we are sitting in this corner, the masses out there are suffering, and their issues and their concerns are the same every single where. Teachers are suffering. Police officers are suffering. Nurses are suffering. Other public servants are suffering. They can't walk to the supermarket and put a party card there and swipe it. So they're all facing the same pressure, whether you belong to the PNC or whether you belong to the PPP. Our citizens are under pressure. And that is why, if you notice what has been happening recently, many of our nurses are leaving. Many of our teachers, come September, you'll see how many of them have gone. And so many other public servants are leaving this country. I can't. Well, teachers.
You would know, you're in the union.
They're my members. And so when we get to September 4th, we'll be able to give you a definite count with regards to the amount of teachers. Should we be worried in this country right now? Yes, we have to be worried. We have to be worried when we hear that we have to employ truck drivers. We have to be worried. We have to be worried when we're hearing talks about importing labor. I don't have a difficulty, or we don't have a difficulty with and let me use this sector, the oil and gas sector, because we were not prepared for this. And so we'll have to bring skilled persons in to do what is to be done and to train. So they become the trainer of trainers, and they're going to train our local people. So after a while, we don't have to depend on them. But when you have to import truck drivers, then that's cause for worry.
I'm going to tell you something that's not blow your mind away. Freddie, go ahead.
Well, Coretta, you have painted, I know, in any interview, print media, television, the opposition has to do what it has to do. It has to come and paint a picture of national dissatisfaction. But looking at Guyana the past year, it's difficult not to conclude that things are bettering, that all money is doing good. Now, the exodus of teachers and nurses is not yesterday's story.
No, it's not. But we have oil. We have oil monies that we're using to do this, that, and the other. Check it, Freddie. From 2020 to now, teachers have not been able to receive their increases in salary that the union has proposed. Do you know what we've been getting? Across the board, which doesn't speak well. I remember the president now, President Ali, when he was in opposition, and when he spoke there as the shadow for housing, And you can go and check that. It's on the internet. You can go and check it. He asked then, and he was bombasting the coalition government then about collective bargaining. He was saying, what has happened to collective bargaining? We must talk to the teachers. You must talk to the policemen. You must talk to the nurses. You must listen to them. You must pay them well. And what is happening now? And let me bring you back. In 2018, if you remember, in 2018, Coretta McDonald was out there with the teachers protesting the APNU government because we felt that as teachers, we submitted our proposal. You had a right to talk to us. You had a right to sit with us so we can agree to disagree and agree so that our teachers can benefit some more. It did not happen then. And so we took industrial action. And you know what happened after industrial action? And I'm not saying that for everything you have to take industrial action. Industrial action is the last resort. But if you're going to be pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, after making steady approaches to talk, to come around the table, and nothing is happening, then you have to go to the last resort. And so I'm saying all of that to say, whether I'm opposition or whether I'm in government, as a trade unionist, I believe that our labor laws must be observed. People must receive what is due to them. Our askings, and this is all across the board, public servants, because I also wear the cap of the president of the Guyana Trades Union Congress. And so workers across this country, our askings, it is nowhere compared to that of what our counterparts in Trinidad or Jamaica or St. Lucia or the Bahamas or Belize or the BVI, nowhere close to what they're asking, what they receive. We're asking that our people, our citizens, our public servants be given a decent wage, one which would see them being able to live comfortable in the sense that they can go to the market, do their shopping. When they come home, they pay their utility bills, and at the end of it, they still have something there to save. That our people can use their pay slips and go to a commercial bank and be able to acquire a loan without having to pull 2 or 3 other relatives with you to acquire a loan if you want to acquire a loan of a certain amount. Our people should be able to live comfortable at this time because we've come a long way. But what we see happening, we got a restaurant somewhere down the road, Amici. You tell me how many ordinary citizens can go there. So you get, and so it's not painting a picture of a dismal picture. It is saying what is the reality.
All right, go ahead, Freddie.
But in any society, there are classes. There are people in the most democratic countries that wouldn't be able to afford to go into certain restaurants and hotels. But although you say you're not painting, there have been significant improvements in the economy because of oil. That is what the oil industry is about. It makes a country richer because your oil is sold. If we didn't have oil, I wonder how you would have painted Guyana.
I don't doubt you, Freddie. I don't doubt you. But you tell me how many citizens, the masses, you tell me how many of them are receiving that. You tell me, let's go around this country and look at our communities, and you tell me how many of our communities are benefiting from the oil money. Just recently,
employment.
Don't worry with employment. You go down the streets and you'll see how many young men and young women are walking the streets. Let's go tomorrow and we can count.
Where are they?
Let's go to Sophia, let's go to East Romvet, let's go to Bedford-Wacton, let's go to Tain on the Quarantine, let's go to Belvedere. You'll see how many young men and women are there who don't have jobs. And we can go further.
Something wrong.
We can go further to tell you that there are lots and lots of young people who have 8, 9, 10 CXC subjects with distinctions, persons there with university degrees, and they can't find jobs in this country. So when we talk about this oil bloom and what is oil doing and the monies we're getting, what is happening to our people? Are our people benefiting from the proceeds of our oil sale? No.
But Coretta, you're contradicting yourself. You're just saying we have to employ truck drivers. There's a general agreement across society that this country economy cannot accommodate the small amount of labor that existed before oil and gas. And so there is need for labor, skilled and non-skilled. There was even a talk about changing the immigration law so people could have work permit quickly as possible. Where are these unemployed you're talking about?
Freddie, I'm surprised that you're saying that you don't know. But I'm telling you, I'm challenging you to let's go tomorrow. We'll walk around the Stabrook Market area.
People need jobs.
We'll walk around the Stabrook Market area. We'll walk into Sophia. We'll walk into Castillo. We can go all. You choose the places, and we'll go and we'll make note of all those who are unemployed and they're qualified. And let me say to you, the importation of truck drivers is saying something to us, because we have all of these Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Social Protection, Ministry of not public infrastructure, is it public works? Why aren't we sitting down to decide, look, we have oil here. We're going to need truck drivers. Let's do some training. What has happened to that aspect of it? Why can't we train our people so that we don't have to import all of those people? I don't doubt that there might be specifics that we are going to need. But when you talk about importing truck drivers, there is no specification there to say, well, we need truck driver for this, that, and we don't have it here. If you talk about truck drivers, then you're saying we don't have people here who can drive trucks. And I know that we got plenty, not only men, but we got plenty women here who can operate those trucks.
I would love them to operate the trucks. Yeah.
That is painting. The fact that we're importing truck drivers is saying that something is wrong here. And you know what it is saying?
It's saying that we need labor.
It's saying is that we're doing a trade and we're doing a barter. So you give me this and I give you this. Whether the people right here are suffering or not, you give me this and I give you that. That's exactly what it's saying.
Can't be that.
But Freddie, you can disagree with me. I have my feeling on it. Sure. You have yours, and I'm sure Leonard, he has his. Well, but the thing is, when you look at what is happening in our country, our people are suffering. Our people are worse off than we were when we hadn't this big oil boom. Because if you look at what is happening at the hospital,
hold on. You going? What do you say?
I'm going to send you to Jagdio, I'm going to send you to Orphanali, I'm going to send you to Priya and all them, they can tell you. But the thing is...
That sounds too propagandistic.
The thing is, and that's okay, Freddie, but the thing is, why do we have to go all this way to employ truck drivers? We knew that we had this oil and so on coming on stream. Isn't that so? We knew that. We knew what we wanted, what we were supposed to be having. Huh? Wrong or right?
I'm listening to you.
You're listening. Wrong or right? We knew what we had to put in this basket. If you're going to cook a pot of cook-up rice, you know what are the ingredients you have to get there. And if you don't have these ingredients, then you start making way towards having them. If when you put the systems in place and you pass by your neighbor and get it, then you got to go to the shop and buy it. But we must first look to see what we have inside. And if we don't have inside, then we can go outside. But I've not seen anywhere, any ad somewhere saying we need truck drivers here, we need truck drivers there, we need truck drivers there, and nobody ain't turning up. And so, Freddie, this is saying to us that labor is in crisis, according to what we are reading, and it should not be. It should not be. But everywhere we have a problem.
Let me tell you what I've listened to you there, Coretta, and I'm involved in business, and I speak up this morning and this conversation come up. It is obvious that somebody is not doing the work out there, because the constant complaint, especially in the construction industry. I'm telling you, and I got problems too at where we are at Providence. You're in getting workers. You're not getting workers. If you find them, Coretta, I'm going to give you my number, and you could have Freddie's number too. You call them, because I know about 10 contractors who complaining all the way down from Timeri, coming down, and they have a serious problem. Now, if you were to say to me that we have a migration problem or that there are other areas, I would tell you that our power that the company that took over from White Siller lost 20% of their staff. Was between the 20% of the staff is 200 years of experience. I was looking at it. Guess what? To the oil and gas industry. GRA boss the other day says,
Yeah, I can't.
I'm losing my staff.
Coretta,
Before you go there, Freddie, let me say to you, old people got a saying, nobody don't run away from good. And we've had these kinds of complaints where our local people are being paid next to nothing and they have to work long hours. Now, you don't expect me to sit here and I have to work 8 hours, and my counterpart right here, because he's an expatriate, he's working for 5 hours, but he's receiving much more money than I'm receiving, and we're doing the same thing. So people will run. If many of the contractors, and I can talk about that too, many of the contractors that we have around the place, they want to pay the laborers next to nothing. They want to pay the skilled workers next to nothing. And that is why many of them are leaving. I've had interactions with 3 contractors who are doing work. They started doing work on homes in the Providence area, these flat houses, 2-bedroom and so on. And you know what? One, they have to wait for long hours to get the materials to do their work. 2, the money is when they're supposed to be paid so that they can pay their workers. It's a long, drawn-out process, and people have got to eat. People have families. So if you do these kinds of things, then people would leave. Now, the thing is, like Leonard said, maybe somebody is not doing their work. And so we probably need to advocate for checks and balances to be put in place so that we don't have the kind of problems that we're having and people walking away from jobs because it ain't making sense.
Send some workers to me that we could start, because we need to. They're not doing the good thing of advertising. The contractors and the others need to advertise.
I find it confusing. I want to use a generous term that we could have one of the growing oil economy in the world. We could have a budget almost $1 trillion. We have people by the thousands that have been assigned house lots. And Coretta could say, you know where the money gone? Go to Priya, go to Jagdeo. And Coretta walks around and said, I see people, youths walking all over. Coretta, you got to be more academic and you got to be more...
Freddie, you could say, and you could term it how you want to term it, but the reality is people are suffering out there. That's the reality. That's the reality.
When you look
people are suffering. Economy. People are suffering out there. Well, you're talking about thriving economy because you have huge buildings going up. You're calling that thriving economy.
But you get employment through that.
Yes. For how long? A building going up there, what it take? 6 months, 5 months? At the end of that, what?
Let me ask a question. I'm not an economist, I'm Coretta.
Neither am I.
Right.
But you
run a household, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard the term sustainable economy. If you have an oil, what is the word, surplus? If you have some oil bonus that is coming in, it started coming in maybe 2-3 years now, where do you put the money on? Do you pay high salaries? Do you pay enough salaries? Do you put it in infrastructure? How do you balance both of it? What's your idea?
Well, the thing is, let me start off by saying this. Infrastructure is the gateway or the vehicle for corruption. Let me start by saying that. Secondly, we have to be able to balance what we have. And we can only balance what we have if we start looking at the cost of living, because you can pay salaries up to $1 million per month. But when you pay $1 million per month, everything on the market is 2.5 times that, then we're not making sense. And so we've got to be able to go out there and balance what is happening. We have to have control on prices and all of that, so that when I get
control of prices,
so that when I get my salary. When I receive my salary, I can go to the market. Just yesterday morning, I was in the market. Celery, 4 strands of celery, $500.
That's expensive.
You tell me how many families could afford to buy that, and that would only last you a day or two. Tell me how many more families can afford to buy that who are receiving the minimum wage. Let me go a little further. A teacher's starting salary, a teacher $75,000, $90,000. $95,000 per month. If you were to do the calculations, this teacher has to pay rent, phone bill, light bill, what, and the teacher still got to eat, the teacher still got to wear. Now, before you reach halfway, that teacher's salary is exhausted. So you tell me, how are our people benefiting from this oil money?
Let me ask a question. Have you had a look at what is happening regionally wise in terms, let's look at Trinidad. Let's look at Venezuela.
Look at the world. I mean, cost of living is out of control around the world.
No, but hold on, Freddie.
I hear all you saying.
But hold on. But you cannot divorce what would have happened with COVID-19 and that pandemic with
I hear
war,
that
and
too.
that knock-on effect, shipping,
I hear that
food
too.
shortage and everything. So this is why I come back. How do you balance that? A government now comes into. I'm not saying that they're doing a perfect job. I'm not saying that. I want to find solution for this country. You have an oil bonus. How do you spend it? And that's what I want to hear from you. You're one of our leaders.
But time is going, and I just want to say, after she answered this question, if we could move on to politics, because we're talking political economy. She has to answer a question.
All right.
She has to answer you.
How do we do that? We are supposed to, as a government, we should have inclusivity, where we talk with the unions, we talk with the farmers, we talk with everybody, and we get from them where we should be going, what is expected here, what is expected there, what is expected there. And when we pool that together, that would enable us to be able to decide how we're spending. Or your subject minister should be able to say to you at cabinet level, let me take it there, after having garnered all the information that we need to do A, we need to do B, we need to do C, we need to do D. And when we put that together, then we'll be able to come across and have fair shares going across levels. We talk about other countries, but in the US, you got lots of food stamps. You can go into a supermarket with $100 and you come out with so much. In Guyana,
in the US,
hold on,
the poverty there.
Hold on,
phenomenal.
Freddie, they got lots of food stamps that are given away in the US. French Guyana, their citizens, they give their citizens and the young ones, they get monies from the government. We don't, our citizens, our little boys and girls here don't get monies from the government. But let me say to you, you go to the US with $100 and you come out with a whole lot of things. You go to the supermarket. In Guyana, you go to Bounty Supermarket and you go there. If you really want to do some shopping, when you leave there, your bill is $45,000, $55,000, $65,000, depending on how you can afford to do it. So when we look at that alone, it is saying to us that something is wrong somewhere and we've got to fix it. And we've got to be brave enough and bold enough and concerned enough to sit and fix it. And the only way to fix that is by having inclusive discussions. And not deciding that we can do this on our own.
I don't agree with the picture you've painted. I think I live in Guyana and I see a different picture, but I think you have your political job to do.
Freddie, this has nothing to do with political job. Freddie, as a teacher, it's only because I don't rent a home. But if I were to be renting, my salary would not suffice unless I get help from my relatives.
You're dismissing the thousands of people that got house lot, so they don't have to...
Freddie, you get house lots. You know how much for a house lot? You know how much for a house lot? $1.5 million starting.
No, they got 500,000 house lots.
Don't talk about the 500. Don't talk about the 500. And when you talk about the $500,000 for the house lots, have you checked to see the time frame within which those people got to pay for it? And if they don't pay for it, it's taken back from them. Have you checked the cost of building materials?
Coretta, you said it's not gloom and doom. I can't accept that picture you're painting. I see a different reality in Guyana. I mean, but you painting a broken down society.
Our society is broken, Freddie.
I can't agree with that.
Freddie, our society is broken.
I think the oil
let's go somewhere else. When we can have a society where 20 children losing their lives because of negligence, you're telling me that this society is not broken?
No.
Freddie, hold on.
That's a terrible analogy.
You can say what you want. When we have a society where lawlessness is on the increase, where lawlessness is on the increase. You see motorcyclists riding this road crazy up, down, without helmets. You see minibuses overloaded, hire cars, prices gone so. And some minibuses are stopped and their drivers are charged by police, and some minibuses are allowed a free pass because it's some policeman own the minibus or some relative to somebody own the minibus. And you're telling me that this is not a broken society? In this society, the law for me, and then we should not allow it to go on. We should stop it. People like you and I must advocate for change. And so the same laws that go for Coretta must go for Freddie and must go for you. I should not be able to pick up a phone if the policeman stopped me down the road for breaking the law. I should not be able to pick up a phone and call whoever, and then that person calls somebody else.
We agree with that. But
here is where our society is loose. Look at the kind of recklessness that we have on our roadways. Look at the amount of theft that we've been happening. Just the other day, Dr. Sam lost his life. And you telling me that's not recklessness?
Nobody's not saying those sociological deformities don't happen.
Well,
you're painting Guyana like Guyana is the only country with those, violent Trinidad and Jamaica.
I don't want to know about Jamaica and Trinidad. I want to know about where I am. I must be safe. Here, we must put systems in place.
I agree.
Here to correct what we have.
I agree, but I hope you're not blaming the government for that.
Well, I can blame the government because
the government.
Yes, the minister.
Men riding motorcycle recklessly.
Because who the policemen work for? Who the policemen work for?
You blame the government.
Yes, because you're supposed to put systems in place to ensure that we don't have a whole lot of these crazy things happening. We have seen, and we got big high society people in this country whose sons and daughters could afford to drive around and ride around and nobody could stop them. So who do we blame for that? You blaming me? No, man.
Your talk about inclusiveness paints inclusiveness has to carry a form of behavior, a form of political obligation that is respected throughout the society. Now, could we have inclusiveness when the opposition disrupt parliament, takes away the maize? You can have inclusiveness when a government...
Well, Freddie, let me tell you, if you don't know, let me say it to you. Or let me remind you and remind your viewers, you were once one of the persons who used to be on the streets protesting. Why were you doing it? Yeah. You were one of the persons when we sat together on UG board and you did not agree with what they were doing. You made a whole lot of noise. Remember?
What is that to do with parliamentarians being paid by the state?
This ain't got nothing to do. This is talk. What I'm relating here, what I'm coming to here, it's the situation where if you're not included, Freddie, then and you feel disenfranchised, then you will make noise and disrupt what is happening. Now, on that night when in Parliament or leading up to the night, people respect all of us, or people ought to respect all of us.
No,
just the other day, hold on. Just the other day, we had an allegation, a serious allegation against the minister. Isn't he a cut above?
But stop. That run the process?
All right, run no process, because you don't see where we're at right now. Just the other day, we had that same minister who said to a female MP, "You want a dildo." What process did that go through? So when we talk about inclusivity and when we talk about a cut above the rest, when we're talking about a cut above the rest, it has to start from here and it will trickle down. And if persons are in an organization, or let me say us as parliamentarians, if you're there as a parliamentarian and you're trying to get over to the Speaker of the National Assembly, here is where we need to have our voice heard. Please allow us to have our voice heard. Please allow us to have our voice heard. And you're constantly shut down. What do you do?
That's the way you behave.
Why did you behave? Why did you misbehave? No. This has nothing to do.
The symbol of national respect, the maize.
This has
and then you have a PNC parliamentarian going and take the maize from. Anyway,
Freddie,
Coretta.
Freddie, we can go all over on this.
I want
here.
to talk about
but I want you to understand, and I want your viewers to understand that when a cat's back is against the wall, the cat will lash out.
I want to go back.
It doesn't go to level and cut above and cut not above.
How you mean it doesn't?
When we talk about democracy,
priests, mulvis,
ministers, priests, and so on. That's why we got ministers exposing themselves on Facebook and all of that. So maybe they're not a cut above the rest. But Freddie, I'm gonna show you the picture just now. Freddie, let me say to you that democracy speaks to equal opportunities for all, and we must have a right to speak, and we must have a right to share and be part of what is being shared. Democracy, when we shouted for democracy in this country, we did not shout for democracy, and when the PPP shouted for democracy, then they didn't shout for democracy because they want to be a group of the 3 Fs, and they only benefit for them, their families, their friends, and their favorites. When you talk about democracy, we talk about people all across this sphere.
Democracy isn't the right to vote?
Yes.
What about the 2020 elections?
Yes, 2020.
Wasn't that an attempt to deny democracy?
You have that information because I don't. What I know is that I saw in a recount, because if the PNC or the coalition wanted to rig an election, then there would not have been a recount. And you know exactly what we saw coming out of that.
Hold on, Freddie. I need to ask Coretta this. You were part of the PNCR or APNU executive council, the central executive. You were part of it.
I am part of it now.
But in 2020, were you there?
No, I wasn't part of it.
Have you ever asked to see those statement of polls?
Well, everybody got copies of the statement of polls. Oh. Everybody, because you know that statement of polls were posted on each polling station. Mm-hmm. So everybody got copies of it. So this whole issue about statement of poll, and we keep talking about statement of poll. Statement of poll isn't valid right now. What is valid is the statements that were garnered from the recount, and that's what we should be looking forward to. That is what is supposed to guide us. We passed statement of polls business a long time.
You saw the statement of poll in 2020?
Let's stop asking about statements of polls. Where I lived and 2 other communities close by to me, I saw the statements of poll because I went to those. I was tracking those polling stations, and there was no big difference. As a matter of fact, in my area, the votes for the coalition increased.
Why is the statement of poll important?
So stop telling me about statement of polls. Statement of polls is, again, Freddie, let me say to you, statements of poll. I don't know why we keep harping on statements of poll. There was a recount process. So statements of poll dead, and that is why they had a recount process, because statements of poll at that stage wasn't valid anymore.
So why the statements of poll are relevant? Mm-hmm. Because it would show that there was a conspiracy, and therefore the recount would not have been necessary if the PNC showed their statement of poll from the beginning.
But stop. Who allowed the recount? The PNC, the president then, Granger. He said he wanted a recount, so it wasn't the PPP who asked for a recount. It's the leader of the coalition asked for a recount. No, so Freddie, you're getting it all wrong. And here is where, Freddie, you putting on a cap that I don't understand how it fit in on your head. Because one time you're this side, and another time you're that side. I don't want you to be with me. I don't want you to be.
You want me to be with people who jeopardize democracy?
No.
You want me to be with people with what I saw in March 2020. Gildarie and I carried on a radio program monitoring the 2020 election. You want me to be with people who attempted to deny a country its right to vote?
Freddie.
So you don't believe 5 months of election rigging took place?
No, I don't believe that. And Freddie, let me say to you, it's amazing, because I remember prior to 2015, you've been campaigning different. I remember you talked about your house where you lived.
No, you're doing a
trench. No, I am Coretta. I can't do no garnish my pot. And so I am saying to you, I am saying to you, when you start,
I know all that I was
when you start collecting your coconut
I want
water,
another half an hour.
when you start collecting your coconut water in your bottle, you don't care about what happened to the people out there. Maybe before then you didn't collect the
I have
coconut
heard
water.
that so many times, but let me tell you something, Coretta.
Freddie,
whatever I was, I changed after I saw people attempting to deny my country the right to vote.
I know. I know.
You see,
but you didn't.
You see that
you see, in 1997 and in 2011, what were your calls then?
What happened in 1997?
Oh, you don't know? Must go to
2011, you know what happened in 2011?
What happened?
The people who was in power and they lost an election and there was no rigging.
Okay.
And therefore, Ramatar had a minority government. In 2015, your party won the election.
And in 2020, your party won the elections. Tell us that.
I don't belong to any party. I am not a PB. But I don't have to defend the PB.
You're not.
You have to defend the PNC.
No, you're not.
But
it's amazing how you're defending them.
You know why I'm defending them?
It's amazing how you're defending them.
You want me to tell you why I'm defending them?
You're defending them.
You want me to tell you why I'm defending them?
Why?
Because what I have seen for 5 months in 2020, you and me on this program should have agreed, well, what happened for 5 months was a threat to democracy. But no, you see?
There was no threat to democracy.
Gildarie?
There was fairness all along, and that's why we had the recount. That's why we had the recount.
McDonald, you see, look, Freddie.
Before you go there, let me say this. I'm enjoying this, Freddie. You must bring me back on this program.
No, we bring it back.
You have an open. I don't know if in the US, you can put your hand on a woman like that.
Is it proper, Freddie? Take it
Is it proper to take it?
Freddie has always been my brother, We come a long way. As a matter of fact, Freddie, there was a time when you were attracted to me.
Coretta McDonald, stop that before I sue you. I admit you've always been a beautiful woman.
The thing is,
there's some beautiful women, politicians.
Don't stammer, please.
Don't stammer. The thing is, we must be fair, whether we're on this side or we're on that side. We must be fair with what is happening in our country. In our country, our people are suffering, and we should seek, as citizens, we should seek to ensure that our people are given their fair share.
What I like about this interview is you came here and you said, look, I'm coming and I'm going to speak my mind.
Yeah.
You did, the operator say time has come. Quickly, Gildarie, and then Coretta will sum up.
Absolutely, and like I said at the beginning of this program, we need our people, our leaders, to be here to talk. It might have an alternative side of things, but that is okay. It is what our country we tolerate. We have to. It's part of a mature society. She's a fire ass. We want her back here.
Yeah,
so,
well, excuse me. Firebrand is the name.
No, rest assured.
Firebrand.
You don't know. You don't even know.
Look, time has gone.
You don't know about Janjat or not.
Coretta,
so we don't talk about fire ass.
Coretta, please sum up.
My grandmother knows
please
about
sum
that.
up.
But I want to sum up.
We want you to come back. Would you come here? Would you be willing to debate anybody on the government side or so?
Yeah, man, I don't have a problem with that. But let me say to you, you tell.
We have to go down.
Yeah. But let me say to you, when the coalition stood in office, we had, and people have to know this, there was increase in salaries.
God, you're going
outside of the salaries being increased, we had the public servants, we had the minimum wage being raised. You had street lighting, you had VAT reduction, you had major highways being made better, you had improved water system. You have
please,
Freddie,
please,
I could carry you and show you where you're having water at a certain time and you're not having water at another time. We had improvement in our electricity system. Freddie, we had the completion.
1,000 people are watching you with this.
Freddie, yes, I want them to watch me. Freddie, we had immigration officers in New Amsterdam and so on. And the people from New Amsterdam, from Berbice, they had to come all the way to Georgia. And you check immigration office central and see from 4 o'clock in the morning, people line up. Under the coalition, we reduced the bridge fare at Berbice that stifled people.
Could we have you here back in the debate?
Freddie,
could we have you here back in the debate?
Yes, Freddie,
we gotta go.
Freddie, money. We had better drainage and irrigation. All of that under the coalition. As a matter of fact, the people in the Caribbean started respecting us. When you put that green book there, they were happy to see you and they treated you differently. Before then, the Antiguans, the Trinidadians, the Bajans, they had cold bench and cold room for Guyanese. So when we come here to talk, we must be fair. We must be fair. Under the coalition,
your definition of fairness.
Under the coalition, people were comfortable. They were safe.
This is the lady who said she didn't see 5 months of election.
They were safe. They were comfortable.
This is the lady who's seeing all of this.
Mothers didn't have to worry when the suns go out. Right now, we got execution style murders start going on again. You had all of that under the coalition. You had few of those under the coalition.
You've been watching Coretta McDonald, president of the Guyana Teachers Union and senior member in the leadership of the PNCR and member of Parliament. Thanks for looking at us. We got to go. It was nice sitting next to someone I've known a long time who's a firebrand. I don't know why Gildarie called the lady fire ass, but I know he didn't mean mad. But as I normally say, thanks for being here. Catch you later.